everybody, my name is Chase Pipes, and you're watching Chasing History, brought to you by American Digger Magazine and Smoky Mountain Relic Room, and we are out in the desert, and we are back with our good buddy Tyree Lamph. Ty, dude, thanks so much for taking us out here. All right, so here's what we're checking out. We're doing some metal detecting along this trip, and Ty was explaining to us about how railroad towns were set up over 150 years ago, and this is a great example of that setup. Ty, what do we have going on here?
Well, the old trains, the steam engines, I mean, they ran off of coal and water, and they could only carry so much water, so they had to stop every 10, 15, 25 miles, depending on the grade, depending on how hard the train was working, what they were doing, in order to take on enough water to stop.
That's insane. So every 20 miles, so okay, here's how this technology worked out, all right? You've got steam locomotives that every 15, 20 miles would have to stop and would have to reload with coal and, more importantly, with water, because these engines ran off of steam. And I mean, just look at this expanse that we're out. Look around. This is a huge expanse of nothingness. And I mean, if you can imagine, every 15 miles there has to be a stop. Well, what happened at these stops? Were these like towns, or what was going on?
Well, they'd have a small, it'd be like a small town. There'd be, you know, a dozen men living here full time that would be responsible for taking care of it. They'd maintain that track. They'd make sure there was water, coal, supplies ready to load on the train. The train would pull up, they'd dump it full of water as fast as they could and send them down the way.
Wow.
This town right here actually doesn't have any water right here. They built a canal clear up on the mountain and brought it up on top of that ridge. I don't know if you saw that little pond we passed on the way in.
Yeah.
And then they piped it down here. So they had, I mean, they had to go through a lot of work to get water to where they needed it in order to keep the trains moving.
That's crazy. So just like the infrastructure that we have today with gas stations and highways, just, you know, every 10 or 15 miles, or sometimes every 2 or 3 miles, that's the exact same way that this industry, railroads, were set up in the late 19th century. That's crazy. That's a lot of effort and work that was going into that.
A lot of work.
So what can we find out in places like this?
Well, you know, the thing that most people really like is the railroad items themselves.
Yeah.
You know, railroad locks, and the railroads had their own china, their own patterns, their own stamp on the bottom for that specific line. You know, old coins, tokens, you name it, just whatever the daily living stuff. I think we found a couple items we can show that.
Yeah,
one of the things that I always find in the 1800s dumps, the 1800s ghost towns, are two things that are the most common I always find. Harmonicas, well, I should say 3 things. Harmonicas, pocket watches, and pocket knives are the 3 biggest things you always find.
There's your pocket knife.
And we found those already just quick.
You know,
I mean, it's cheap entertainment, knowing when to go to work, because there was no other way. I mean, it wasn't like you just look on your cell phone and know what time it is. You had to know when the trains were coming, when you're supposed to be set up waiting for them.
Yep.
And then that was a daily utensil. Your pocket knife, everybody had one in their pocket.
That's crazy. You know, it's hard to fathom that here in this expanse of nothingness, you know, there were people living their lives, you know, taking the pocket knives and cutting up apples or whatever, using their harmonica to keep themselves entertained. And we know it was a railroad because we've got a little glass cup with a railroad stamp on the bottom of it. So, you know, that's insane. Now, what are good indicators to find little towns like these?
Well, I mean, you can do research. I mean, one of the indicators, this one's pretty easy. And this kind of shows as well. This is just a common map. The main highway's out here. The railroad's down here. See the names of the towns? It shows all the old ghost towns along this old rail line all the way down.
Oh,
and you can see how they're spaced out. You know, there is a dirt road along the railroad tracks it shows, but it shows the railroad line, and that's a long ways from the main highway. There's people living up here, and 60 miles away there's people living. There's nobody in between nowadays. It's all completely barren landscape. There's nobody living there anymore.
That's crazy.
That's the easiest way to do a little research, is you got to know where the old railroad lines are, and you can go, you know, look at maps and look at the old ghost town books, things like that. But another is, you've got an obvious landmark that doesn't belong out here. A lot of times there'll be fruit trees. These are not fruit trees, but these are just a tree that doesn't belong out here in this desert. This has been growing here 100 years. That's as big as it's got. It's barely alive, hanging on. And, you know, it was planted for shade 100 years ago, and they've been just, it just survived.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
You know, that's insane. And here's the point, guys, is that literally all across this country and across this planet, where you think there wouldn't be anything, there's something always there to find. All you got to do is slow down, stop, and get out and look. Take your metal detectors and you can find all kinds of cool stuff, just like the stuff that we found today. So this is awesome, man. Let's go see if we can't find some more stuff.
One thing to look for when you're into an old town site too is if you look at the ground, you can see all the broken glass, the purple glass, the
broken glass.
And this is all cinder. This is all coal cinder. Old bullets. I mean, there's stuff all over the ground when you start looking. Now you can find stuff out here without a metal detector, without having to do any investment.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Isaac found a marble, Tony's found some buttons. Just walk around looking at the ground. You never know what will just pop out.
Let me ask you this: where is this town? Why is this not here anymore?
Well, there's no need for it now that we have diesel-powered locomotives. They just zip on by. They don't need to stop here anymore, and there's no reason for it to be here.
That makes sense. And so all across this country, there were all these little towns every 10 or 15 miles, all along every single rail track in the United States that as soon as the diesel locomotive showed up, they all became ghost towns. So you've got literally all over this country, little teeny tiny ghost towns everywhere, just like this one we're in here. Was there a name to this town?
This was Cedar. This was
Cedar.
the Cedar siding, yes.
Okay.
That's it's. I mean, there's 100 of them. Just on this one rail line, there's 100 of them from one end of the state to the other.
Just like this. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Ah, that's cool.
One thing to look for too is see this pit right here to the side of us? That would have been the dugout. That would have been the main building in this, for this in camp.
Okay.
They would have dug it down into the ground for a little bit more protection and insulation. And that's something you find on these old 1800s towns a lot of times, just a small depression, a pit, a small dugout in the hill, and that was the cabin, that was the house. They didn't have 5 bedrooms and a sauna and a
brothel.
They were just a small, just enough to survive the winter and get out of the elements.
Wow. So that would have been what, the cellar?
No, that would have actually been probably the main building. It's big enough that would have been the main building. It was dug down on the ground level there. It's level with the front. They dug it in the hill up here where the hill slopes in just to help insulate it, keep it a little bit warmer in the winter.
That's cool. So see, guys, you've got indicators to find these sites. You've got these old trees that are up here. You've got the cinder on the ground, the dugout. That's cool.
If you look up here, there's a couple more trees. They're in a row. You can see they're in a row, which means there was something there. If you look at the hill over there, you can see a dugout in the hill. See the little circular hole? That's probably another dugout to another building that was dug in the hill right there.
That's awesome, man. Ah, cool, dude. Well, thanks for bringing us out here and showing us this, and thanks for showing everybody else this also. So, dude, I greatly appreciate it, man. All right, guys, be sure to follow us on Facebook at Smoky Mountain Relic Room and Chasing History. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Smoky Mountain Relic Room. Be sure to come by the shop. If you're in Sevierville, Tennessee, swing inside of Smoky Mountain Knife Works. We're located downstairs. And be sure to like and subscribe this video. We will never, ever, ever be on Twitter. Twitter's evil and awful, and like the wind, it never stops. Thank you guys so much. Todd, thanks for having us out here. You guys get out there and find your own history. History rocks! Woohoo!